university sweater came in yesterday. UPS delivered it fast, like a nod to my new beginnings and a heartbreak to my old goodbyes. My name is Lillian Keysbrazer. I'm a grade 12 student at Trillium Lakelands District School Board and a proud member of Thrive SMH. And this is my last time on this stage. But before I pass the microphone for the very last time, I want to look back at all of you and know that the future is bright and ready for change. I don't have a lot of time left here, but neither does the system. So here's what I've learned from the incredible students and adults I've worked with for the past 4 years and the people I've met on my incredible journey for the past 17. Because we're never really alone in the way we feel. It only feels lonely when we let people believe they are alone. Number 1, I am not a number, nor is my identity. We could spend all day in fancy boardrooms discussing calculus curves for the rest of our lives. And while it has a place, it's not always first. In my life alone, numbers have bounced around my file. I'm sure I made a good statistic, and by 2nd grade, paperwork started coming home. While those numbers told my teachers I needed help, it was not the numbers that provided it. It was connection, collaboration, and support, listening to who I was and what I needed. As Gwen so wisely put it, mental health as a topic is incredibly personal, and so should the way we address it. Students are not a box to be checked, but a person to be built. Number 2, you are my spark. Students aren't a fire that needs to be fed, but kindling that needs to be ignited. Student engagement is the act of helping students find what match will inspire their fires. As Dante said, student engagement is identity affirming, but only if it is without tokenism. But we still need you. You create the spaces and the sessions, the connections and the conductors. The system is broken, and well, important to recognize, I don't see it as an excuse, but as an opportunity to fix it. As Audrey told us, it's the personal touches, humanity over hierarchies. Find the students with missing fires, whether first in the class or last. Without your platform to invite students to give feedback, providing funding for student-led projects, or inviting leadership in spaces often ignored, we will never find our matches. Number 3, you will always have my microphone first. It is useless to pretend that students will win the power fight. They're not meant to. We need you to teach, to direct, and to facilitate. But don't mistake our youth as young. As Kieran called it, without boundaries, there is no power for students. Your power is meant to be shared, meant to be facilitated. As a system, students' voices are more talked about than listened to, talked down to instead of met at their level. Like Summer reflected, giving control where students feel like there is none. They are capable as long as the action you give is met with support and connection. Finally, number 4, the lesson I want to leave with you today. Because as I'm putting on my new sweater, there is a peacefulness knowing that all of you want to do something, but you've got to do it. Students aren't asking for perfection, we're looking for connection. It's okay to get it wrong the first time, as long as we learn to apologize and be comfortable knowing that we may need to try again. Doing something or asking something not perfect is better than waiting for the perfect moment. Because as students, we just need for you to ask. Whether the question is awkward or not quite right, it could save a student's life. And so, from system to student, I've played both sides. And I've learned there is one thing they don't tell you about senior year. Sure. Senior year is like the Hollywood movies. Independence, prom, epic parties. And yeah, they weren't lying when they said it was hard. Grade 12 exams, planning your future, figuring out what you want to do with your life. But what they fail to include is the bittersweet lasts. This year, I had my last school rugby game, my last school dance, and soon, the last time I will be given a platform like this. This is my 3rd year and my 4th provincial leadership meeting. And I would like to close this chapter of my life the same way I started it, with a poem I wrote for my first virtual PLM. It was grade 10 and the pandemic senior year, but I think it's just as relevant today. So, what I ask of you today, when I pass the microphone for the last time and put on my brand new sweater for the first, we can continue to work together to both teach kids how to swim, will we all learn how to float. It's titled Life Jackets. The kids are not okay, but they're self-aware. Cliche, isn't it? In 2020, we were learning how to swim, and by 24, we're not quite there. We were in the shallow end or the warm pool. Our toes could still touch the liner, but just enough we could lift our feet off the ground and learn to swim. We could read our papers and books and listen to what our teachers taught. But it wasn't shortly after this when we were pushed into the deep end, papers and all. The papers were soaked and the computers broke, and we could no longer touch the bottom of the pool. Kids didn't and don't know how to swim. But before we teach kids how to swim, we must give them life jackets. See, when we hit the deep end, we could no longer touch the bottom and we began to drown. It was too late to swim back. What we need is to float. Ears below water can't listen or learn. But you must be their life jacket before we teach them to swim. Let's warm up the water so we're not as cold and open our expectations. Listen to their voices and rewrite the ways we learn how to swim. Our pool has waves. Some people's waves are bigger than others, and they just need a life jacket to stay above and breathe. Others just need to float. So throw them life jackets before you teach them to swim. We all need to float, so let's give it a whim. With ears below water, drowning and all, let's take a deep breath before the fall. So be their life jacket, paper and pen, wisdom and learning, caring and then. We know we can't swim, but we can no longer float until we can no longer learn until we float. Thank you. At this